Hey everyone, Tankenstein here, and welcome back to Weakspot Wednesday. Bringing it back this time to go over all the best weak spots of the StuG III and show you the best tactics for how to defeat it. I'll be going over the first 3 weak spots for those of whom have less than 90mm of armor pen with their cannon, and one final weak spot for those of whom have over 90mm. Further, I will be showing you gameplay and give you some of my favorite tactics again on how to defeat the StuG III. We'll be using the StuG III-G and the StuG 42G as examples, but we'll be primarily focusing on the 42G as it has the best armor for the BR of all StuGs, and as such is the most difficult of the StuGs to defeat. Also, if you have any weak spot video requests, please let me know in the comments below. I plan on doing a video on the IS-3 and also the T-44 in the near future. This said, I'll try to make this video both quick and detailed, so let's get into it. And now, that being said, let's get on to the weak spot. So as you note here, the hull armor for the StuG 42G is as follows. You have 80mm front, 30 side, 30 rear. Same with the turret because it's casemated. And one very important thing to note is that it has add-on armor when researched, which adds another 20mm of thickness in certain spots, which equals 100mm of armor at a BR of 3.0, or if you play arcade, I believe it's 2.7. So it is a tremendous amount of armor. Now, all that being considered, the first shot that you're going to want to take against a weak spot, and probably the best shot against the StuG, is the side shot. Now, as with most German vehicles, TDs included, side armor tends to be very lacking, and also, as you can see especially here, very flat. In addition to this, Germany love to have their ammunition stowed where they are very vulnerable again to side shots. As you can see here, it's very vulnerable. StuG III-A is much the same. It's really just the same across the StuG line. As such, this will be your absolute best chance to kill the StuG, regardless of your cannon or BR. At most, a StuG III will have around 35mm of armor protection, which, unless you're firing a heat shell with less than 115mm of armor pen, you should be able to pierce easily. Now try to shoot the side of the StuG near the front of the tank if shooting it in its right side, and if not, the left side has its armor, or the ammo I mean to say, in the back next to the engine. So as you can see here, like I said, right here kind of towards the front of the side, and on the StuGs, and this is pretty universal, shoot it right behind it, right near the engine, and you should be able to blow up that ammo. If you're shooting it from the left side, of course, it's left side, and the right side, if you're well, again, the StuG's right side. And what I meant by that before about the heat, and this is something very important to note. So the StuG, whoops, my apologies, the StuG 42G does have some heat, and this does provide 5mm of armor thickness right here. So if you're facing off against it, you know, let's just say theoretically speaking, with another StuG, see how tough that is? It's because heat explodes before it can get to the tank. That side skirt essentially diminishes heat. You know, not entirely, of course, as, you know, if you're attacking it right where the tread is, you're going to be less successful. But there are certain levels of heat where it's insufficient to destroy the tank from the side just because it has that side skirt, whereas a regular shell would not have that issue. As you can see right here, it can just easily pierce through more or less anywhere that it wants to go and just destroy whatever. And that's just StuG versus StuG, so watch out. Ammo type is very important when facing a StuG, especially when you're facing it from the side. Either way, if you have sufficient armor pen and preferably APHE ammo, a nice side shot near the front from either side of the tank should be enough to explode the ammo racks again on this side. If you have no ability to shoot the front for whatever reason, a center side shot or an engine shot should also be excellent. So as you can see here, you can see why. With the former being able to take out easily a large portion of the crew, and the latter disabling the tank and likely setting it on fire, making it so that you or a teammate can easily flank and destroy the tank. The best types of ammo to use for this shot are APHE and, again, if you need to, AP ammo. Try again to avoid using heat ammo if you have a StuG with a side skirt like the StuG III-G as I mentioned before, as even 100mm of heat pen is far less preferable than even 45mm of armor pen from APHE or AP ammo, due again to how the side skirt will prematurely explode that heat. So again, just watch out, guys. I know that heat, some tanks at this BR can have heat, especially if they're howitzer based. Let's say if you're using an M8, the light tank for the Americans, and M8 GMC, you want to watch out when using heat against these bad boys, because Ultimately, it might sound like you can just go right through it, but this side skirt does a lot more than you think. Plus, you know, if nothing else, it does add still 5mm of conventional armor anyways. So even if you're using a shell, you're kind of right on the border of, you know, 35 or 40mm of armor pen. That side skirt could really, push you out. So just be very mindful of it. And for weak spot number 2, you'll basically just want to shoot on either side of the cannon, right where the sloped portions are. It is substantially less armored than the flat portions of the front of the tank. So as you can see here, 80 plus 20, so you have about 100mm. Right here, it's around 30mm. Effective thickness at worst will be around 60. I mean, plus, of course, the tracks could make it worse, but an even better shot than right here. So if you don't have the armor pen to destroy this, you can shoot right here where the effective thickness is substantially lower because the armor slope is substantially better for you just to be able to shoot right through it because the slope isn't quite as bad versus tank shells. So definitely you're going to want to aim here. And if you're looking at the tank, you're going to want to shoot on the left side here. So the reason being, again, is because of all the ammo stored right here. You can also kill the loader, or if you want to go for a more crew-oriented shot, you can shoot right to the side there. But specifically, again, right here, and if those are tough shots to make for whatever reason, you can shoot right here and right here. Really excellent shots, and they're kind of like magic key shots that a lot of people don't know because they get so focused on shooting everywhere else on the StuG, but these are where you're going to get a very large portion of your kills. And finally, in regards to these sloped frontal shots, the best shells to use against them will be AP, APHE, and even heat shells, just because it doesn't have this weird side skirt here. I know heat's not really, it's sometimes it's common, sometimes it's not, but you will want to avoid, if you're shooting these spots specifically, APCR, just because of the tendency to ricochet off of sloped surfaces, especially right here, being that this is really, really highly sloped, and so it would probably ricochet against it. And for your final frontal shot, this one is one that you're going to be very familiar with if you're used to fighting Germans, or if you play a lot of German tanks yourself. It's the cupola shot. And though it might seem like it has relatively comparable thickness to the rest of the front of the tank, you know, with 50mm right there, it's on a very flat plane. So really, you're just fighting 50mm of armor, which at 3.0 or so BR is definitely penable. As you can see here, you can just shoot right into it and wreck. The primary shell choice that you're going to want to use for this shot is going to be APHE. AP ammo and heat ammunition are okay as well. They just won't do nearly as much damage typically. Heat kind of coming in second, being that you can destroy 1 or 2 crew members, maybe, but AP typically you might only get 1. APCR you should pretty much avoid just because this is a relatively easy shot to make. Plus it has limited post pen, but APHE ammunition almost entirely. And if you can get yourself with a large cannon, I know I was personally wrecked by the Chiha long gun, wherever that is right here. I was wrecked by this a few games ago when somebody with this shell, I believe in particular, shot right through it. And you can just kill the entire crew with ease. So again, APHE first, heat second. If for some reason that's your only shell, it can do some damage. And being that the driver, the commander, and the gunner on this side, it will buy you some time. AP third, and try to avoid APCR. But if you have APCR, you should at least be able to kill the commander, which does something, I suppose. Now, that all being said, for a shot for those with over 90mm of armor pen in their current situation. So these other shots I showed you are for those with lesser armor pen. Let's say if you have lower BRs, those are the shots that you're going to want to take, and they're really still great shots if you have 90+mm of armor pen. But realistically speaking, the juiciest shots in the game are also the toughest to make, and I'll show you why. So these flat surfaces are exactly where you're going to want to shoot if you have all that level of armor pen. And the reason being is because if you can shoot right around here, let's just say like right here, you can take out the driver, the gunner, and the commander all in one, and possibly destroy the cannon breach, set the tank on fire, do all of that. It is an excellent shot to make, especially let's say if you're using an M4 Sherman. Right here, you can just go with your M61 shot, and it should be at least right next to this letterbox. Sometimes I know that volumetric shells have a tough time penning around the letterbox opening where the drivers can view out of. And also try to avoid where these tracks are, because again, that does add around 20 millimeters of armor pen. But if you can shoot right through it, let's just say if this is a point blank shot, it shouldn't be a problem almost anywhere where you go. You just destroy the entire crew. Now, almost the entire crew. One place to really avoid shooting, however, is going to be the lower glacis, as it is much more highly sloped, plus it also has the tank treads, and there's not really a ton behind it. So you can shoot and destroy the transmission, but you might only be able to kill the driver. Maybe it's just a much tougher shot, and unless it's the only shot that you have versus the StuG, I would avoid it at all costs. It is a very high risk, low reward shot in that you will be giving away your position, and the chances that you will destroy or even damage the tank are fairly low. You've got much better chances to pen elsewhere. Again, for example, right here, you can just shoot right on the side. You can kill the driver. Easy shot, plus it destroys a crew member, forcing them to either use crew replacement or they just lose a crew member in general. So just avoid this shot, but you're going to want to try to use APHE or even AP ammo. Those are perfectly good, and shoot the right side of the tank if you have over 90 millimeters of armor pen in your current situation. This is probably the juicy shot in the game versus the StuG. And now for the best tactics to destroy the StuG III. You're going to want to destroy the tracks or the engine and follow up with the flank. Really, it's just that simple. Essentially, you'll just want to disable movement in a StuG for an easy follow-up kill, being that they don't have a turret to turn if their tracks are broken. This is and will be, again, your easiest way to kill a StuG of any BR if you're unsure of your ability to destroy it from the front, whether due to lack of armor pen or if you're having a tough time finding its weak spots. Additionally, being that StuGs generally have very powerful and relatively large cannons for their BR, if you're having a difficult time flanking or are immobile yourself, I would strongly recommend taking shots to destroy their cannon. If you can do that, even if you're unable to destroy the tracks or disable it in some other way, you'll force the StuG to either retreat, repair in place, which would make it immobile, or try to defend itself without a cannon. Either way, this at least gives you a stalemate. Now, this should result in an easy win for you if there are no other enemies around. Aside from this, I would avoid going anywhere near the front of a StuG of any BR if it's sitting in place. If you think you'll somehow get the drop on a StuG if you're both hiding behind different sides of the same building, for example, you are wrong. The StuG is lower to the ground, likely has a better cannon, has few and smaller weak spots than you, and is designed for exactly this type of warfare. If this is the case that you'll be stuck in, I would suggest leaving it alone or flanking it. And even though the StuG, as shown in this video, has some deadly weak spots, the StuG's most important strength is the cannon that it carries, as they are typically all very powerful for the BRs in which they sit and can perform well, even in a full up tier. Just because you know how to beat the StuG doesn't mean it will roll over and play dead for you. Expect to fight every time and avoid going after one of these vehicles when you either have to come to them or if you're so far away that your shells are no longer effective against them. Don't let them know that you're there, because there's a good chance that their shells are going to be able to pen your tank at a range that your shells cannot pen the StuG. That all said, thanks so much for watching, everyone. It means the world to me. I hope I was able to help you guys with this weak spot guide. I'm not really sure how many people are looking for a StuG weak spot guide. I know there are some tanks that I am looking to make weak spot and tactic guides for, but I felt like this one was actually pretty useful, especially for low BR people. Additionally, let me know what you guys think in the comments below about the sound quality. I changed a few settings on my mic. Seems to have gotten rid of most of the echo, but changed up my voice a little bit. So let me know what you guys think. Either way, this is Tankenstein signing out for the night. Again, thanks so much, everyone. I will see you all on the other side. Take care, everyone.